I'm working on turning every SILKSONG enemy into a Pokemon. Up until now, we managed to create 28 Pokemon, and today we have 7 more. These being based on the Last Judge and the Green Prince, who is actually part of a split evolution, but I don't want to spoil too much, so let's get started. First off, we have the Last Judge, a boss that you can find in Blasted Steppes and need to defeat in order to get to Act 2. I want it to be a 3-stage line, and the obvious pick for its first stage is a Squirm. They are these little grub-like creatures that are stated to eventually grow up into the judges. They actually have a really cute interaction when you play the Juddling in front of them. For its design, well, it's a chubby grub, not much more to add, except for its mask, which I wanted it to eventually expand and cover its body with clay as it's slowly forming its cocoon in order to evolve. Meet Juddling. This bug and ground type Pokemon lives in complete darkness as its eyes are still developing and are very sensitive to the light. So it covers its face with a mask made out of clay that will eventually expand in order to create its cocoon stage to evolve. For its abilities, I went with just one, Swarm, but don't worry because it will change into a signature ability when evolving. When it comes to the second stage, I'm sure many of you would imagine it being based on the Judge, with the Last Judge being the third evolution. Feels like an obvious choice, however, I wanted to do something a little different. You see, the Last Judge wields a weapon similar to a flail. I don't mind Pokemon having items, but I think they need to be justified somehow. For example, the Cocouncil line wield these beams because they are used in construction in modern times. But where would this Pokemon get a flail from? Well, it's actually its cocoon, which it keeps in order to use as a flail after evolving. Meet Cocouncil, a bug and ground type Pokemon. When it's ready to evolve, Juddling will cover itself entirely in clay. In this stage, it can barely move. However, it spins its body at great speeds in order to generate flames from the inside of its cocoon, triggering its signature ability and changing its type to a bug and fire type. As I mentioned, I created a custom ability for this Pokemon, Clay Armor. It swaps its ground type for fire after its second turn in the field. If this Pokemon is switched out, it will go back to ground type. It also makes this Pokemon resistant to the same types as the ground type. So instead of being quadruple weak to rock, it actually resists it as well as poison. So stealth rocks won't be a problem for this Pokemon. And finally, we have the Last Judge. I actually designed this Pokemon first, until I only had a cocoon left. Then I went to design the other ones and came back. I just copy and pasted the cocoon and placed it on this drawing. For its colours, I first tried a very monochromatic colour for the design, similar to the original Last Judge. But I felt like it needed some contrast around the head, so I left its face the same colour, but I made its crown darker, which I feel like made the design stand out much more. Meet Arbitrath. This bug and ground type Pokemon kept its cocoon in order to use it as a weapon. It wraps it with its own silk, which is resistant to fire, and spins it at great speeds in order to generate flames from inside and smash its opponent with its signature move, Judgment Flail. A 90 base power attack that changes type depending on the Pokemon's secondary type. So usually a ground type, but when it changes to fire, so it doesn't move, and it gains a secondary effect of 20% chance to burn the opponent. For its stats, it gave it really high defense as it's protected by a solid armor, as well as making it a physical attacker as it attacks with its flail cocoon. Hi everyone, just a small break to let you know that if you want to help support the channel, you can become a member and get some awesome perks. This month, I'm offering some PNGs on these SILKSONG Fakemon I made, so be sure to check the membership plans to see what interests you more. Anyway, let's get back to the video. And next, we have the Green Prince, one of the most tragic characters of the game, and I assure you that this Pokemon will be just as tragic. I based the first design on the Leaf Roller, an enemy you can find in Verdania. It's pretty simple really. It starts off as one Pokemon, but when it evolves, it becomes 2. Not sure what the evolution method should be. Probably defeat another of its species at level 20 or something like that. Meet Cora Hop, a bug and grass type Pokemon. This lonely Pokemon loves to dance, but it still needs to find a partner. Once it finds it, it will never leave its side. For its ability, I went with Dancer, Oricario's signature ability. I think it's fitting for the Cogwork Dancers and the Clover Dancers. For its evolution, I went with the Verdany. They are the enemies that look like the Green Prince the most. So once it finds its dancing partner, it will trigger its evolution, now being 2 Pokemon. Similar to how other Pokemon such as Dugtrio, Masshold or Magneton increase their numbers when evolving. I drew them in a dancing pose, and I must say, the fact that there were two figures in one Pokemon really made this difficult. Not only because of the extra work, but also the composition, as I want them to fit properly in a square format. Meet Twirl, a bug and grass type Pokemon. These two work in perfect unity when battling. Every move they do looks like a choreographed dance. Many Pokemon find them quite hard to defeat due to their speed and coordination, and only if you learn to dance with them in battle will you be able to defeat them. Now for its final evolution. As I mentioned, it's a split evolution based on the Cogwork Dancers and the Clover Dancers. I imagine this evolving in a similar way to Ninjask. It has one main evolution, in this case the Cogwork Dancers, but if you have an empty space in your team, you will get a second Pokemon. When you trade Twirl while it's holding the metal coat, it will evolve into Metalette, a bug and steel type Pokemon. In a distant past, Twirl couldn't evolve. However, with human intervention, they managed to evolve this Pokemon further. The problem, however, is that only one of the two bodies manages to evolve into this Pokemon, forcing them to separate. This triggers a response from Metalette to split its soul into two in order to create a new body, as it can't stand the feeling of being alone. While it became very powerful, splitting its mind and soul, as well as separating it from its partner, turned this Pokemon into an empty shell compared to its former self. For its stats, I made it fairly slow and bulky, as I want the other evolution to be faster and more aggressive compared to this one. And finally, we have the Green Prince itself. As I mentioned, the two bodies are forced to separate when evolving, so this Pokemon who didn't get to evolve thanks to the metal coat is all alone and depressed, forcing a completely different evolution. I wanted this one to resemble the Clover Dancers, who, in the fight there is technically only one enemy, the Green Prince, but there's also this ghost-like creature that represents its partner, but you can't really attack it. So this Pokemon is back to being only one body, however it has an extra pair of ghost-like arms that are actually a fragment of the other body's soul who managed to reach this Pokemon. So while I imagine it looks super badass with sword hands, I also imagine some bittersweet images of the ghost hands hugging it. When you swap Twirl while it's holding the metal coat and you have an empty space in your party, Twirl will evolve into Spectrins, now a grass and ghost type Pokemon. It was forced to separate from its dancing partner, however a fragment of this Pokemon's soul managed to reach this Pokemon in order to aid it in battle. This Pokemon is often seen dancing alone and feeling sad, making many trainers really regret evolving this Pokemon even though it became much more powerful. For its stats, this one has a higher attack and speed, turning it more into a glass cannon compared to Metalette. Next, I wanted to show you the results of the Weevolution poll I made. I asked you all which one was your favourite, and after 15 polls I managed to determine the order. So in last place we have Pestion, the Weevolution based on the Witch Crest. Honestly, I'm not too surprised. This one, as well as the next one, Swiftion, based on the Wondrous Crest, were my two least favourites, so I can see that many of us are in a similar wavelength. Next, we have Cogouncil, the Weevolution based on the Architect's Crest. This one, I am a little surprised, but at the same time, not really. I feel like the rest of the designs were similar in quality, and you can really see that in the result between Cogouncil and the next one, Oracleon, who ended up winning by only 2%. I feel like the top two were obviously going to win, and the next one, I may not like it as much as the last two, but I can't really be surprised as it's based on Hornet. Of course, I'm talking about Weavy itself, Eevee's convergent. Next, we have Weevolution, the evolution based on the Hunter's Crest, and of course, being based on Hornet, had to get a good result. And as I mentioned, I knew from the start who the top two were going to be, as they are my favourites. Next, we have Beastion, based on the Beast Crest. It being a dragon type, as well as having a much more interesting pose than the rest, guaranteed a good result. And finally, the winner of the Weevolution Cup is of course Reapion, based on a Reaper's Crest. I mean, look at it, has a cute hat, of course it was going to win. And it's also a ghost type, the coolest type of the game in my opinion. Anyway, now we're at the end of the video. Thank you all again for watching, and thank you to my members Redclaw87 and Jonathan Kant Brown for helping support the channel. Just a reminder that you can also become a member to help support the channel, as well as getting some awesome perks. But if that's not of your interest, you can always just subscribe and share the video with some friends. Anyway, thank you all again. Leave a comment letting me know what you would like to see next, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.